Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and this is, I promise, starting now, weekly TV news. It's been a while, it's been a good month since the last one.
Yeah. And you shouldn't have said you promised, because every single time you've promised something in the past on this show, it's just not worked.
Well, this is a promise. This is a promise with the caveat of...
That you may break it.
Yeah. Which I guess technically is not a promise, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, I mean we're basically doing like every other week just because news was a bit slower with the pandemic and everything else. And then we had a really busy schedule when we tried to do the last time we tried to get together for news.
Blame Dark.
So news is kind of built up a little bit. As far as the news coming on this show, I looked through the last week as I usually would for the news show, and then from everything before that, I just kind of look for the big stuff that we missed rather than every little thing. So it's going to be a packed show. There's a lot of stuff to talk about because of the time between shows. No doubt there'll still be something that you care about that I missed. Feel free to mention them in the comments. But we're going to get into it here. We're actually starting probably the headlining topic of this week's discussion. Because I didn't even mention TV news. I mean, it's as it sounds, but we do pilots, renewals, cancellations, shows in development, all sorts of announcements, things like that. Premiere dates. That's all that sort of stuff that we go through. Often genre stuff, sci-fi, horror, that kind of thing, superheroes.
Things that tend to be to our interest.
But sometimes, other stuff too. So, but yeah, the headlining thing's actually a brand new thing that only hit today. Pretty big deal here. And
I do know what this is.
Yeah, it's a Batman spin-off series at HBO Max. And when we say Batman spin-off, I don't just mean Batman in general. I mean the Batman, as in the movie that Matt Reeves is making at Warner Brothers, is going to have a TV show that he's producing that is going to be set in the same world as his Batman film. Which is fascinating to me that they've tried and failed a shared universe, which is still kind of ongoing in some ways because some of the other movies are getting sequels. But this Batman is clearly separate from that, but is going to have its own tie-in TV show set in its own universe.
Do you know what? I'm all for it. In concept of just that level of, finally, studios trust us enough to go, we can figure this out. We're fine, associating different properties with different things and having multiple universes and takes at the same time. Because there was a long time where Warner Bros. In particular would absolutely not allow any, two versions of a character to exist at the same time for fear that it would confuse audiences.
Here's the announcement from Deadline, which is typically where I get, unless otherwise stated, is where the news comes from, just because it's easy to stick to one source. HBO Max has given a serious commitment to an original DC drama set in the Gotham City Police Department from the Batman filmmaker Matt Reeves and Boardwalk Empire creator Terrence Winter, who's going to be kind of running the show itself. So here's the thing here, is that it says Gotham City Police Department, and as comic book fans, we both think one thing when they say that. We both think Gotham Central. Bizarrely, though, this is not the first time they've announced a Gotham Police TV show, and we've hoped for Gotham Central, only to get something else instead. Because, and it's actually amazing how quickly after the ending of Gotham, which is the Fox show that I'm referring to here, that we're getting a second possible attempt at maybe a real Gotham Central show.
This feels more likely in that, okay, it's not a network show.
Mm-hmm.
There's at least one person who is a talented filmmaker involved. I didn't really watch Boardwalk Empire, but I mean, I've heard good things. So, but that's probably in the pro column for most people. I would say.
Yeah, I saw. What did I see? I think I saw like 3 episodes of Boardwalk Empire. It was sort of thing that was like it felt high quality enough, but it wasn't necessarily for me. Ultimately. But
not bad.
But this is in the world of Batman. This is, and if it is Gotham Central, if it's specifically focusing on Montoya and Crispus Allen and all those characters, and what is the police department in Gotham like, in the world that exists with Batman and all of his crazy villains, but we don't see him. He's not a main feature.
Yeah, I think for me, having those characters would be great. Don't get me wrong, but they're not essential. Like, you could do completely just a whole lineup of original characters in the police department, but keep that feeling of dealing with the shit that Batman is left over, essentially.
Yeah, and just how they operate in a world with Batman. And it begs the question, because Gotham Central, of course, in the comics is established in, at the time what was present day DC universe, which basically meant that this was a world in which Batman had been operating for decades, in sort of time. And, so this is not the early days where everyone was corrupt and Gordon was the one good cop. This is years later when a lot of these cops are better and are trying to do their best and things like that. Now, admittedly, given the current political climate, it actually would maybe be more, I don't know, relatable if it is those early days of Gotham where there is a lot of corruption.
I would say, given that everything we kind of know about this Batman movie, which is very little, admittedly, is that it is an early days Batman, right?
That's true.
So it wouldn't surprise me if this is almost immediately after the movie, kind of in the timeline, in the sense of this is watching the police department adjust to, holy shit, there's a Batman. What the hell do we do?
Yeah, like, especially if they don't set it up over too much. Because obviously I don't expect them to have like an 8 years later thing like Dark Knight Rises, but I do wonder if, like, for some reason, let's say Batman wins at the end of the movie, but he's really injured, so there's like a month without him being on active duty. So maybe the entire first season of this show, or this limited series, whatever it ends up being, like, what if this is just all set in that month where, okay, the impact of the Batman has been felt, they have, they've had enough witness accounts of him existing that they believe he's real, but they don't know how to operate in that post-world, and maybe the first signs of certain villains who are a bit more, shall we say, theatrical are starting to appear.
Honestly,
or something.
While not exactly traditional Gotham Central in terms of an adaptation of that, that would be a really interesting take, I think, to see that conversion in the police mindset of operating when Batman has recently appeared.
Because I've seen a lot of kind of either negative or borderline reactions to this today, mainly because of the current political climate, and there's so many shows about cops, and cops are these hero figures, and how it's kind of this. I've heard the phrase propaganda used a few times in refers to shows, and that is a fair critique of TV as a whole and entertainment as a whole and how it's used that job role. But I think what's potentially interesting about this is a lot of what we think of as modern Batman is that part of the reasons why he feels he needs to exist and becomes this character is because of the corruption in Gotham City. It's kind of a core facet of year one, and even it's not there as heavily, but it is there in Batman Begins to an extent as well. So I think there could be an interesting exploration here of the police force that needs a Batman to basically whip them into shape, and how they react to that, and what is that transition. I expect resistance. I expect some of them to try and fight back.
Gordon trying to drag them forward. Honestly, I think this as well. As much as all these previous shows are being re-examined under the current climate, and we're like, well, this is kind of propaganda, like I say, the word that's been used. This will be entirely written in a world after this has kind of been the last few months. So maybe it will actually actively play with that and deconstruct, in a way that makes sense in the current world.
And I think being in the Batman's world and the DC world, the Batman's world, whatever you want to call it, does offer a bit more leeway than a lot of shows which are meant to be set in a more, real world, a world where there's no superheroes and villains and things of that nature. But I mean, I don't know if this happened before our last news show, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the writers thrown out all their scripts for the next season because of what's been happening in the last couple of months, and saying they're going to rewrite everything because they want to actually kind of bring some of that into. And I don't envy their position, because I don't know how you do it, and without. Because I don't think Brooklyn Nine-Nine ever had any sort of like intent of promoting anything unsavory. I think it was just a good setting for a bunch of wacky characters. Ultimately, I don't think it was anything to do with saying anything about the police force. But over the years of that show, they've become more political. They've addressed subjects, they've addressed topics, and then they're put in this position where they have to address that the police themselves are the topic of controversy, that this is something they have to do. So
and they can't ignore it.
And
I think it'll probably mean to a quite significant delay to the next season. I think it was Andy Samberg. He's promoting his new Hulu movie. You were saying that the show's kind of in limbo right now. No one really knows what to expect.
Well, the best suggestion I've seen, and I believe this is following the Archer method, is just to have them all work in a post office all of a sudden without mentioning why.
I saw firefighters.
Firefighter, there you go. Nah, but they had a rivalry with the firefighters. That would feel like almost a betrayal to earlier plots.
True. But that is pretty much what happened in Archer. Due to the name of their organization, they just kind of threw it out the window and went, "Yep, do something new now."
So, but to swing this back around to this show, do you think Jeffrey Wright shows up as Gordon? Is he a character in this TV show? I mean, he's been in Westworld, so it's not like he's opposed to doing a TV show.
Yeah, and HBO Max, I assume there's a lot of overlap with the people, the executives involved that they could have got him on Westworld. So it doesn't seem unfeasible by any means. It
feels like he should be like the lead of the show almost, but at the same time, I could also see it just being he's like a guest star here or there to kind of connect it, but it focuses more like a task force or another precinct or
he's
something.
He's the sort of actor though that I think could relish being the lead of a HBO Max show.
Yeah, he probably could.
And he's right at that level where it's perfectly feasible. I mean, many a bigger star have done it, especially for a limited series.
Yeah. And this is a serious commitment. So this is, I mean, unless they completely change their mind, this is happening. This is not just we've greenlit a pilot or we've commissioned a script. This is a commitment to series. So
yeah.
So this could be interesting because Reeves actually just like a week ago announced one of these, one of those first look deals where Warner Brothers have first look at everything he's developing. So it's not a surprise that this quickly there's been something for HBO Max. So this is definitely a big get for them if it works. Obviously, there's always a desire to have some non-Batman DC related stuff that's good, and given the effort,
but we know that there are multiple DC things coming on HBO
true.
Max. We know we've got a Green Lantern thing at the very least. I'm sure they've talked about other unannounced things that they've not named, but there's a handful in the works. I'm sure.
Yeah, notably none of which are coming to DC Universe. More on that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So that is so Untitled right now, but just call it Gotham Central.
That's kind of what everyone is unofficially calling it anyway.
My only real concern of this is that not only is it nothing even spiritually like Gotham Central, regardless if there's characters from it or whatever, because I agree that really need those specific characters, even though I really want a good Montoya, because I feel like
I like a lot of those characters, but you don't need them.
Because Montoya, Montoya's a character who, there's been a Montoya on Gotham, there's been a Montoya in Birds of Prey, and I feel like both versions are not true to who Montoya actually feels and who she is, who she feels like when she's actually in a comic. When I'm reading about Montoya, the Montoya who becomes the Question, neither of those versions, like the one in Gotham felt like a throwaway character at the start of season 1 that just kind of was there for
Birds of Prey is
plot.
Also it's a very jaded look at Montoya, but it's compared to Gotham,
I don't know, but even the one in the movie felt more like comic relief to me. Like she felt kind of, I don't know, just tonally not what I think of as that character. So I would like to see a proper Renee Montoya in something.
Sure.
And HBO Max, it feels like the place where she could be her. And I see Montoya dropping F-bombs. I mean, I don't know if they're going to want to make this a hard R. Maybe this will be more of a TV-14 kind of thing. They'll drop shits, but not F-bombs.
You can see them introducing a Montoya in this show, and maybe down the line giving her a question show.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they eventually either give her a question show or just let that be a development in this series. Like, just it's a Gotham city show, and she becomes Question. Maybe they introduce Vic Sage in like season 2 or something, and the transition happens over a few seasons. Like,
yeah, it stands to reason. It's perfectly possible.
There's no reasons why that couldn't be a thing. But I guess my only concern is that if it's not spiritually Gotham Central at all, is like, what is this? Is this, even though I like Matt Reeves as a filmmaker, like, is this some sort of weird project that's not anything that any of us could ever think of? Now, admittedly, that could end up being a good thing, because it could be like this really unique take on the city or something or whatever. But at the same time, it could also end up being like, just what I don't want is to be sitting there for 10 episodes going, why isn't this just Gotham Central? This is some weird idea or weird focus that
if it's good, that won't matter, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's good, but
yeah,
we'll see. So that's my only concern, though. Which, admittedly, given the Matt Reeves involved, I'm a little bit
right now
optimistic.
I'm more on the promising side of things. There's nothing that's bad in this announcement.
Yeah, sticking with DC stuff and even Bat stuff, we did get the casting of the new Batwoman this week. So I'll see if I can get this right. I've not heard this name said out. I'm going to say Javicia. Is it a silent J, do you think?
I'm not looking at it. Shall I get this up?
Javicia. Is that Javicia or Javicia? Leslie is the actress who's been cast as Batwoman.
Yeah, silent J. Javicia.
I would, yeah. I would lean towards silent, actually, now that I'm really thinking about it. But I'm sure I'll hear it at some point. but she's been cast as a new character who will become Batwoman. The character's name is Ryan Wilder, which I was kind of making fun of when I heard it this week, mainly because obviously Van Wilder was played by Ryan Reynolds, and all I could think about was that someone watched that movie in the writer's room and went, "Oh, let's just take the actor's name and take Wilder and just, there you go."
Mean, I honestly have very little opinion on this news story. I'm not familiar with the actress. It's an entirely new character from everything that it sounds like anyway.
Honestly, the only thought I have on this is that the actress is bisexual, or at least queer. I don't know. I think she's specifically bisexual. So they're keeping that element of representation in the show, which it
was something that they promised when there was the change.
When they first announced they were going to have to change and recast the role, it was the one thing we all kind of thought, well, kind of Batwoman's big thing in terms of its value from a social perspective was that representation. So it's nice to see them keep that. The actress is black as well, so they've went with it even further, and I feel like. Yeah, there's a certain portion of dickheads in the internet. I never saw any replies because I know not to bother looking at this point. Yeah. But I can just assume some of the awful comments that were probably on some of this news story.
I had a look under one thread when this news broke, and it's everything you expect. I don't need to say any of them. It's if you can think about it, it was just that the usual.
Actually, the one I did see, someone screen capped it. So I saw the screen cap of it. Is someone responded to the tweet announcing it, saying, "What's next? A black Batman?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe. Why not? Sure."
I mean, by all reports, we were so close.
Yeah, by all reports in the comics, we were very close to that happening. Things have changed, but no one tell that person about Batwing. It may get very upset.
But honestly, I feel bad for her because she might be a great actress. She might be wonderful in the role, but it's hard to fill the roles of the lead character after the first season of anything.
I'm going to say something slightly spicy here, though. I'm going to suggest that Ruby Rose's acting quality is not a high bar to set for someone.
No, that's fair. I mean, she's perfectly fine. I think she was perfectly decent as Batwoman.
I think she was notably the weakest of all the leads out of all the CW shows.
Yeah, probably.
Because some of the other ones actively elevated the material as best they could, and then I'd say Grant Gustin just kind of was fine for it and nothing spectacular, but does all right. I felt like Ruby Rose was clearly the weakest one out of all the leads, so I think Leslie here might stand a chance of actually kind of stealing the show a little bit. Now it is awkward having to introduce this new character and all
this stuff. It's just going to be clunky from a writing perspective. There's no way around that, and I feel bad for the writers as well having to deal with this because no one wants to do that.
Yeah, but still, they've recast. Clearly, they're gearing up to shoot because there was stuff shooting this week. Some stuff started resuming shooting in certain places, so we're starting to kind of have production be a thing again.
For now.
For now, yeah. Well, there's kind of a point of no return though, where it's like, well, we can't just keep everything going forever. So I think what you might see though is that a lot of older actors who had roles might have diminished roles for a while they're keeping them more safe than everyone else.
It's quite possible. I just mean there are some areas where things started back up and then it's like, okay, no, back to hiding away again, and it's possible we might see that with some with some shooting locations or shoots in general. I don't know which ones, it might not be all of them, but it might happen.
Yeah. And then sticking with DC stuff, this is something we already talked about on a review of the latest episode, but we should mention Stargirl did get renewed for season 2, but notably by the CW, and it will not be on DC Universe, which basically, that service outside of the comics is confirmed dead. Every project we hear about a DC show is all HBO Max now. There's nothing in development.
The only thing that is still in development for DC Universe that hasn't aired yet is Titans Season 3. That is still officially a DC Universe thing that is coming at some point. But that is the only thing currently scheduled. Well,
we'll see when the announcement comes that it's also going to... Titans also going to be on HBO Max, or Titans is going to... whatever.
It might well be, but right now that is the only thing. Because obviously Doom Patrol has not been renewed yet. Harley Quinn hasn't been renewed yet. And I think Young Justice actually might be officially on its way still, the next season of that.
Yeah, I wasn't counting next season's though. I was just talking about new things in
new
development.
stuff entirely. Yeah, no, nothing.
Yeah. So yeah, there's nothing new. There's literally nothing been announced for DC Universe coming at any point. So because of that, combined with the fact that now Stargirl has its new exclusive home, given the fact that Doom Patrol has a secondary home that it, is easily going to shift to, presumably with a season 3 renewal that we hopefully get. Like that service, like for some reason, I don't know why when they announced HBO Max, they didn't just say right there and then we're going to, because they've been offering a bundle recently where if you've got DC Universe, it's an extra $5 a month and you'll get HBO Max. I don't know why as soon as they announced all this, they just said we're going to transition the actual media content over to HBO Max and we'll start a transition phase. It'll be cheaper for people who are subscribed, blah blah, and offer some sort of thing, right? Instead, for a year, they have sat and lied and said, no, DC Universe is still a thing. We promise it's still a thing. When it was very clear the entire time it wasn't going to be.
I don't understand why everything isn't just day and date simulcast with the HBO Max. Stargirl is a separate thing, so obviously that's got a broadcast network home, so it's slightly different. But
yeah,
like Doom Patrol, Titans, anything else they want to renew, just all right, it's on both. Like we're keeping DC Universe alive for the comic side of the service to compete with Marvel Unlimited, but we might as well just keep the content that's there anyway. We might as well, if they renew Doom Patrol for season 3 and say it's exclusive to HBO Max, why? Just there's no benefit to that. You've already got DC Universe going. Just leave it on there. And the same goes for all the archive content, all the old cartoons, films, whatever they've got on there at the time. Just leave them on there.
Yeah, they're still cycling in and out, though. It's not like they've all been there consistently since it launched either.
No, that's true. But I mean, the same is true with HBO Max, which is also already cycled in and out DC movies.
Which is also stupid, right? They're just wrong in both accounts. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't want to talk about this too much because we did talk about it a lot in the review. So, if anyone who really cares about our Stargirl thoughts has probably heard this already. But just quickly, there's a chance that the CW will hamper the writing quality a little bit, much like we saw with Supergirl. Especially in retrospect, it was very easy to see how much it changed getting into season 2 and just how much it's kind of continuously suffered with the same problems since it moved. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Stargirl. It is keeping obviously some of the same writers, it's keeping its shooting location, so hopefully it can stick to what it is and maybe still keeps a limited episode count of no more than 16 episodes per season, and that's benefited Legends of Tomorrow very well. So
yeah, I mean it's easily been the highlight of the CW
and
shows.
even in Black Lightning, which I think is easily the second best CW show, also had that more limited episode count, so there's definitely something to be said there. So hopefully it doesn't hurt the quality, but definitely my reaction when I saw this news, not the renewal part's great, but the other part was like, uh-oh.
yeah
that was the exact noise I made. So but let's move out of DC stuff. Other big headline thing here, this is from like a week or two ago. This is that there is a Fallout TV show in development based on the video game series, coming from the creators of Westworld. This, of course, is Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy developing this. This is for Amazon, though, not HBO, because you might have assumed Amazon for HBO just because that's where Westworld is. But I do think, I remember an article about them making some sort of overall deal with Amazon. And
I think we spoke about it at some point.
Yeah. Obviously, they're still continuing Westworld for HBO, which did get a season 4 renewal. Basically, my thoughts on this when they announced it, and there's not a whole lot here in terms of what the actual premise of the show. There's like a little description of what the world of Fallout is, and I'll read that in a minute for everyone who doesn't know. But my thought process when I saw this was that if this announcement came before season 3 of Westworld, I'd have been really hyped about it. After season 3 of Westworld, my excitement is like, I still think there's a lot of potential. I still don't think there's a reasonable chance it will be great, but it's a lot more, muted. It's a lot more reserved and like, okay, we'll see what they do.
Yeah, I think the world of Fallout in general is very vast and easy to just put in any story they want to tell.
Yeah.
Just throw in whatever characters they want to create from scratch. It'll be completely fine. They don't need to have a single thing, person from the games. You'll have some iconic things like maybe like the Brotherhood of Steel will probably show up, stuff like that.
Yeah, which maybe says something about the quality of the overall writing in those games, that neither of us really give a shit if they bring any of the actual story elements in.
I think it's not even that because I actually really enjoyed at least 2 of the stories that out of the ones I played. But I don't think they need to be adapted to TV. I'm like, well, no, I've played that. It was a perfectly good game story for a Fallout game. I enjoyed it. I did what it was supposed to for a Fallout game. But I think if you're doing a TV show in this world, you've got so much freedom that you just start from scratch almost.
Yeah, but I still think it's worth saying something just how unimportant it is to the overall experience of Fallout. Like, I played through a shit ton of Fallout 3. I could barely tell you any of that game's plot because it's just not that important in the grand scheme of the experience. Whereas if you're telling me they're doing a Last of Us TV show, which they did at HBO, my response to that is like it's not so much that I think they definitely have to make it be about the game story and adapt the story directly, but it's the question in my mind is should they? And it's almost an internal debate because it's such, what makes Last of Us is those characters in that story. Whereas with Fallout, I'm like, I don't give a single shit if they take a single character from that game.
I think it helps as well that there's been enough Fallouts, and each Fallout, is different characters, different stories, different locations entirely, that in your head you're so used to just, okay, this is fresh each time, so why wouldn't this be fresh? Whereas with Last of Us, when that news came as well, we'd had one game, it focused on one pair of characters. It was hard to imagine a Last of Us world that wasn't focused around that. Whereas Fallout, it's a lot easier to just wrap your head around that, I think.
I mean, with Last of Us, it would almost be a really ballsy thing for Druckmann to say, no, I'm going to make a separate group of characters that are for the TV show that we're going to tell my story through, and it's not going to be an adaptation of those characters. That would be really ballsy.
I think we said when this was announced, I think I said that I would have actually been really interested in that, maybe more interested.
I mean, if they're feeling confident about adapting the game, I'm curious to see that as well. It has a lot to live up to if they're doing that, which is the risk of that. Doing that method, but Fallout. The world of Fallout is one where the future envisioned by Americans in the late 1940s explodes upon itself through a nuclear war in 2077. In Fallout, the harshness of the wasteland is set against the previous generation utopian idea of better world through nuclear energy. It is a serious in tone, yet sprinkled with moments of ironic humor and B-movie nuclear fantasies. And it is true to say that Fallout does have a lot of quirky little characters and bits of humor in it.
It's very 50s, 60s Americana, white picket fence, but in a post-apocalypse nuclear world.
It's the retro future kind of, or the vibe,
It's very specific though, isn't it? I mean, it's really easy to nail down because of that, which should make it easy for them to translate. Just throw in some of those nice old-timey songs and people will be like, yep, feels like Fallout.
Yeah, I think the setting's the important part with Fallout, and so hopefully the creative side here, the writing side, and I mean maybe this is a mean thing to say, but I wonder if season 3 of Westworld kind of devolved into kind of the safe mess that it was. That's a weird way to phrase it, but it kind of was a safe mess ultimately. Yeah. I wonder if it devolved into that because they're kind of half checked out because they're too busy doing stuff with their new deal with Amazon. maybe that's why.
It's possible. I think I mentioned this during Westworld as well. The first season kind of symptom with a lot of these cable shows, where they have all this extra time on the first season. They have the idea. They've come up with it. They've got a great limited season plan, and nail it absolutely. Which I think is safe to say. The first season of Westworld really did. And then it's like, okay, what next? And that's where the problems come, where they have to kind of write themselves out of wherever they've left it. And that's where it kind of struggles. So maybe we'll get at least a great first season of this show.
I mean, you assume that. I'm not necessarily convinced that's always the case, but...
Not always, no. Of course it's not. But I think it's possible. It's just a feeling I get with some of these shows. It's like, Westworld's a great example of it.
Because I think it's entirely possible. It's just that the rest of their story is just not as good as the first part.
And no, it is possible, but I don't believe they went into when they were the pre-production for the first season of Westworld. I don't believe they had mapped out all this other stuff, where we are now in season 3. I believe they had one really great idea, and we went, okay, we'll get this done, and then we'll tease some things here or there, maybe, and then we'll go, what's next? I fully believe that was the writing system on Westworld, at least.
Now, I only got halfway through season 3, but Person of Interest did nothing but get better as I was watching it, to the point where I really do want to go back and probably just start from the start again and watch it all the way through.
I mean, I've only ever heard good things about that one, so yeah.
So because of that, that's a track record then, that it's not just Westworld and nothing else. There's another big example from before that where even in the confines of a CBS environment they managed to make gold. So yeah, I mean let's not write them off.
I wonder if there's something to be said about the restraints kind of reining them in, and having to work within that constraints helped in some way. Where Westworld, they had a lot of free reign. You
may be right. I do feel that sometimes you look for these kind of answers to these questions where sometimes it may not be that.
It just might not be as good. Yeah, they didn't have as good an idea. They weren't as good a story. It happens.
It's not a simple fix of just like, applying a simple rule and that's why this is not as good as that. Like, it may just simply be, they had a great idea and then it kind of devolved after that one idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So... But we'll see. I mean, I hope season 4 of Westworld brings me back in, because we're always going to watch it and see what it's like. But
yeah, and we're probably going to get that before we see this Fallout show.
That could go either way. I think the pandemic could maybe shuffle that around more than you think.
No, you could be right. I think in a world that wasn't this one, I would be a lot more confident here in saying we'd get Westworld first. But yeah, maybe schedules have changed.
Yeah, so that's the headline stuff. Next up, The Crown has been renewed for a 6th and final season after it was supposed to end with season 5 because Netflix can't make up their bloody minds.
This is such a bizarre story because when the original plan was always 6 seasons, and I think we've even spoken about this on the news before when they actually announced, we're going to just do 5. We think we can manage with 5. And this was like 2 years ago, I think. This was like before the last season, at least, where they'd announced that. And then now they're going, well, okay, back to 6. Like, it's strange.
Yeah, it's odd, especially since it's not the only example recently of Netflix. I don't even know if I've got this in the news, but I don't think I did because we talked about it being a possibility last time, but they did officially announce a 6th season of Luther, which they're claiming is the final one, but they said that about 5. And they might have even implied that about 4 at one point as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So
you meant Lucifer there, right?
What did I say?
Luther.
Oh, Lucifer. Sorry.
And there was a moment that I was like, wait, what?
No, Lucifer.
And the reason is because Luther was in the news earlier today about a potential film spin-off as well. So it was like, it just took me a second to reconfigure what you'd said.
So next up, we have something of a relative surprise cancellation, I think. Although that's it, I didn't watch season 3, so I'm not sure if this was kind of planned, maybe in a way that I didn't realize. But Chilling Adventures of Sabrina has been announced that it's been cancelled by Netflix. The 4th season, which they kind of shot with season 3, is still to come out. So there's going to be essentially 4 seasons of it. Which is, to be honest, by Netflix's standards, is actually a decent amount of episodes. So.
I know you kind of stuck with it more than me, and originally it was very much the first 2 seasons felt, or at least it felt when I gave up, that it was just one season cut in half. I don't know if that followed through to the 3rd season, if it felt like that or not.
I don't know if it really matters. Honestly, I think what matters more for this is did they have like a proper ending at the end of that part 4, as they're calling it.
I know there was plans for a season 5. The showrunner has openly talked about they were going to do a crossover with Riverdale. I think they're planning on continuing it in comics. It was called the Witch War or something or other. But they had like a mock-up poster or everything. Like it was in the works. There were active talks about it happening for scheduling. So I don't know how much of an. I mean, it might have a nice season ending that feels neat enough, but it's not the ending of the show that they had planned for sure.
Yeah, that's disappointing, especially since it's funny because I didn't review season 3. Me and Tara did season 2, and then season 3 came out kind of at a busy time, and it didn't happen. And what's funny about it is that is that every single person who's talked to me about it and mentioned because they've watched it said that season 3 was easily the best one, and I was like, well, that's just dumb luck. That's I didn't get to see the one that's supposed to be the best one. So it's a shame that if it was actually getting better creatively, that it's been cut short. It makes me wonder why. I wonder if there's I wonder if this is actually maybe more to do with HBO Max, given that the production behind this is tied to Riverdale and all this comes from Warner Brothers. I do wonder if there's maybe like not exactly like the Marvel stuff on Netflix, but I wonder if there's just kind of we don't really want to make content for a rival streaming platform anymore.
That's possible. I would say it's Marvel are the weird exception to this because they're Marvel, right? Whereas in the TV world, this isn't uncommon, right? For studios and to make content for rival networks. The production companies might be tied to one thing and they air on a complete rival.
Yeah, but that's the old guard. This is the new streaming world where everyone has their own proprietary streaming service they want people to buy into with their hard-earned cash.
That's true. You might be onto something.
And I just wonder.
Sure
I wonder if it was a
more.
simple case of negotiating, like what who would pay what for season 5, and I wonder if
just like this isn't worth it.
Yeah, I wonder if like what they were offering Netflix was just not enough, or vice versa, or whatever. Like, but
yeah,
I wonder if that's where this fell apart. It's not so much that it wasn't doing well enough, but if this was just a straight up Netflix fully owned original production, it probably would get its 5th and 6th season or whatever to round it off properly, because Netflix seemed to be mostly kind of good about saying we're going to give you a final season, and there's some examples of that coming up.
One other one, yeah,
coming up. So yeah, Sabrina's 4th part will be the final one. Speaking of cancellations, though, Katie Keene, in a rare move, the CW has cancelled something after 1 season.
It's so bizarre. I was like, what?
And you know what? This stars Lucy Hale as the titular Katie Keene. And you know what, Lucy? After Truth or Dare, after Fantasy Island, F you, I hope your shows never survive. Your career can crash and burn because you're in nothing but trash. I want no part of it. Ha, show's over, go home.
I am fortunate enough not to have put myself through those movies. So I'm still of the opinion that I quite like Lucy Hale. She's perfectly fine.
From what? What have you seen her in?
I've seen her in stuff, I'm sure. I can't tell you what, but I know I've seen her in stuff in the past.
Oh, God, that stupid twist in Fantasy Island.
I don't want to know.
Check out me and Tim's reviews on Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast, the hit horror movie podcast that we do on Mail Plus TV. You can find it on the YouTube channel, of course, or Screams After Midnight's own audio podcast feed. The Fantasy Island review's not out yet, admittedly, but the Truth of Dare one from last year is definitely still there.
Fantasy Island will be coming soon, right?
It's coming. I've recorded it already, so it's it's in the next 2 or 3 weeks, so it'll be out. So yeah, Katie Keene's been cancelled. So ta bye bye. What a shame.
Yeah, it's surprising to see CW cancel anything after 1 season.
Yeah, it's very odd. I wonder if because it was a musical like dramedy or whatever. I wonder if the production requirements to make that during the pandemic. I wonder if the pandemic's kind of what did it, and it was just too awkward trying to get it back together. That maybe it just
could be because obviously they had the musical show not long before ended 2 or 3 seasons ago now. But that went for a good while, so it wasn't like they were against that. I
may be completely wrong. Maybe it's a completely other issue, but there you go. Speaking of things being renewed with the final season at Netflix, Dead to Me has been renewed for a 3rd and final season. So which I know very little of this show. I know it's Christina Applegate and that one from Freaks and Geeks, Linda Cardinelli, that's the name.
Yes. Paige has been watching it. She watched the first 2 seasons over the last few weeks.
I've heard positive
really enjoyed
things.
it.
Yeah, I've heard positive things.
She did when I told her the news, because get an opinion on I know someone who will care. She was like, yeah, that's not so bad. She goes, it always feels like an idea that couldn't run indefinitely anyway. So 3 seasons, apparently, according to her, felt this will be fine. So, and I've not seen too many people really upset about this news either. Not in the same way like Sabrina is like okay, people are really upset at that.
Well, because Sabrina felt like something that could keep going for years and years and years. You can keep having more adventures and
yeah. Whereas this 3 seasons, it sounds like this will be fine, and people will enjoy it.
Next up, Netflix have also renewed for a 3rd and final season The Kominsky Method, the comedy with Alan Arkin and Michael Douglas. So that's another one. Can I move on?
Yeah.
You spent way more time talking about Dead to Me. I want to get... There's so much still left, and we're already 40 minutes into this recording, because you have to comment on... Like, I thought some of this would just be quick firing out. Here's a couple of quick renewals.
And now who's going on?
This is worth it. Giving you out of trouble is worth it. Ozark also has been renewed for a 4th and final season from Netflix, although it's going to be a longer final season. They're calling it a supersized final season, so it's getting 14 episodes instead of I think the 10, but they are splitting it in two. So,
2 parts, yeah.
So technically, I mean, you could argue this is also a season 4 and 5 that are just both shorter if you want to. So I
mean, we've spoken about this in the past. You know, shows like Breaking Bad, for example. You know, when that had its kind of split season, it's like it's kind of just 2 seasons in a lot of ways. Especially when you have like a full year's wait between them.
It kind of it depends on the gap. It also depends on the writing. Breaking Bad, I would argue, is still fairly one season once you actually watched all of it. It didn't. I mean, there's a good cliffhanger at the end of that episode for the break, but the actual themes of the season feel like they go throughout the whole thing. So, so it just depends on what the writing's like. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter that much. If you like the show, and a lot of people do love this show, we couldn't get into it, but a lot of people do love this show. So, for the people who love this, you're getting 14 final episodes, and they know it's the ending. So, hopefully, you'll get a conclusion that's satisfying. Sticking to renewals for now. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David just will not quit. Season 11 has been confirmed by HBO. Which will,
only 11.
Yeah, which will take it past 100 episodes. Well, this is the thing that after the first 7 seasons, it stopped being a yearly thing and started being whenever Larry David felt like writing 10 more episodes, he'll come back and do 10 episodes. So
I think season 10 feels like so long ago now that I assumed we were on at least 12 by now.
Oh,
the renewal.
The gap between 10 and 11 was nothing compared to 9 and 10. 9 and 10 was years and years.
I think the difference between that was it was so long that you just kind of assumed it was done, right? Whereas 10 was recent enough that I feel like, no, this is still going, but long enough that I feel like there should have been another season in between.
I mean, 10 was just in... Was 10 January?
It can't have been.
Maybe it was January last year, but I definitely remember it being at like the start of a year.
That cannot have been this year.
All right, so moving on. Lovecraft Country, premiere date. This one for a couple of weeks ago. It's this year. Yeah, you're an idiot. Thank you.
That's how long they were talking about it before, and I guess that's making me think it was longer ago. Jesus.
Yeah.
Or maybe just that's how long this year's bloody lasted.
So yes, Lovecraft Country. This came a while ago. This date, but it's worth mentioning because this is definitely one that we're looking forward to. And we're going to check out. This is coming to HBO on August 16th. This will be replacing the Perry Mason slot essentially. So this is the horror Jim Crow 1950s America trailer we talked about a while ago on the news.
Yep. I hope we like it a lot more than we did Perry Mason.
I'm feeling confident of that.
Yeah.
Feeling confident of that. Sticking to premiere dates, The Boys Season 2 is coming October 9th. So, there you go. Wait on. Actually, sorry. I read the wrong date. Before you correct me, I caught myself. Shut up. Season 2 will come on September 4th to Amazon Prime. However, there's a caveat here. The date I read is actually the date of the finale because in a weird move, Amazon are going weekly with one of their shows, which honestly, now admittedly they're doing the first the first week?
3, yeah. Hulu model,
right? To be honest, and I know people are going to hate this because people love binging their shows. For our recording schedule, this is great news. Even for our viewing figures, this is great news because people are still talking about the show. By the time episode 6 comes out, it's great. This is perfect for us.
Do you think streaming services are learning? Because this isn't just perfect for us. This is great for streaming services. And
yes.
Amazon have dabbled with this, like when they did a Grand Tour, like the Top Gear show. They did that weekly. But the big key example I want to use for this is The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, where that dominated the conversation, the zeitgeist for 2 full months.
Yeah, people kept talking about it.
You don't get that if you just throw it all out at once.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I wouldn't say perfect. It's almost perfect. I don't really want 3 in the first week, but other than that, it's almost perfect.
And we've got an extra thing in the middle of the season as well that they announced. There's a Butcher short film that was essentially like all this, a lot of content that they'd filmed that was basically at the start of episode 1, to set up where he was from the end of the last season to the start of this, that they felt like ruined the flow, so they just cut it all out and thought, well, we kind of want to do something with it. So they're doing it as a short film. They said released sometime in the middle of the season.
We'll talk about that too. I mean, it may just be added on to whatever the episode is that comes out alongside it. If it's meaty enough on its own, we'll just talk about it on its own. But we'll see what it is.
We'll judge it on its merits.
But yeah, so Boys was a surprise, a personal surprise, not just a surprise hit, but just a surprising quality for us. So looking forward to season 2 of that. So that's September 4th. It begins, which is a weird thing to say for an Amazon show, but that's what it is. And then sticking to date, Away, which is the Netflix show coming, starring Hilary Swank. It is a space drama series. There's a short teaser trailer, which is basically just her in space crying. It's like
40 seconds of her with like the one tier coming off and floating because it's 0G.
So that's actually coming September 4th too. So there you go. That's a Netflix show.
Busy day.
Yeah, well, it's fine. It's fine. Do one of each and then whatever. So now we'll give that a look when it hits as well. And then another date we got was for Star Trek Lower Decks on CBS All Access. This is the animated series. This is coming August 6th, the series premiere. And as for how we cover this, we'll definitely take a look at the pilot and talk about what the show is and review that first episode. Half-hour animated comedies, though, don't really make for reviews for the most part, because you just kind of repeat jokes and there's not really much point. So it's probably not going to be a regular review, but we'll have a look at it when it hits. So this is the animated comedy. Starfleet crew residing in the lower decks of the USS Keratos include Tawny Newsome as Ensign Beckett Mariner, Jack Quaid as Ensign Brad Boimler, if I'm saying that right, Noel Wells as Ensign Tendy, and Eugene Cordero as Ensign Rutherford. I love that they're all ensigns, but I guess it makes sense since they're on the lower decks.
They're all just the schlubs.
The Starfleet characters that comprise the ship's bridge crew include Captain Carol Freeman. That's just a list of names. I don't really read that. So it's about all the grunts. It's about a bunch of red shirts who obviously won't actually die because the show's about them.
Going about their day, their job on the internet, right? It sounds like it's kind of just going to be a workplace comedy.
That's what it
animated
sounds like.
And Star Trek.
Yeah, this is not a slight against animation, but part of me wonders, why is this animated? Why not just do the workplace comedy in the lower decks of a starship? Just do it.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason that we don't know yet.
Yeah. And then Hulu have announced a premiere date of September 9th for Woke, which is a comedy starring Lamorne Morris, who I think was on New Girl. Yeah. So this is coming on September 9th. He's an African-American cartoonist on the verge of mainstream success when an unexpected and very timely incident changes everything. Keith must navigate the new voices and ideas that confront and challenge him without losing everything he's already built. So, Hulu comedy. I'm going to go into a limb here and say this is probably more of a comedy drama because it's on Hulu, but that's just a guess.
Probably, yeah. Like a lot of those, the HBO comedies, which are, that in between.
Next up, Cobra Kai, and a weird thing here is moving to Netflix for season 3. It's shifting to Netflix because YouTube basically decided they wanted to get out of making scripted content. They've got no interest in doing it anymore. And people like Cobra Kai enough that Netflix have picked up. I assume we'll go to Netflix too. Did they do? I'm just scanning for this information. They do. I just want to confirm it. So seasons 1 and 2 will be showed up in Netflix before season 3 hits. So that's cool. What's funny is that they made it free on YouTube to watch them. Right? So you have to just deal with the ads, and then they're just not doing it at all now. So now it's a Netflix show. But I've heard surprisingly good things about the show.
Yeah, there was a lot of positive buzz.
Yeah, lots of positive buzz. So yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're a fan of the show, you're just happy it's happening. Even if this ends up in the final season, it gets to round out its story. So there you go, Cobra Kai. So on to shows in development then. Starting with some. Actually, you know what? This is where I usually do the Patreon thing. So yeah, let me thank our Patreon producers. Although
now the game too long.
Well, the problem is it's on my on-screen post-it note, but it's on the monitor that's turned off, so I'm just waiting on the TV turning on so I can read it.
Shambles.
I can't go over and drag it over without seeing it. There it is.
That's how long we've been since we've done a TV news. He's just so unprepared.
All right. So thank you to Alison M. Fordyce, Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, and Zammer Jammer. They are all Patreon producers, which means they're patrons at $20 or above. But of course, you can support us for as little as $1 per month over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses for your trouble. You get exclusive episodes of some of our movie podcasts. You get the odd outtake and kind of like bonus bits, as we call them, odd little tangents that make it cut out of episodes. At $5, you get early access to a bunch of stuff, and you get to vote on movie episodes of some of the podcasts and things like that. So go and have a look and see if you're interested in the bonus content, but mostly just want to support all this stuff and keep everything coming and make it all feasible and let it grow and yada yada. And like it on YouTube as well, very important. That's the free way to support us. If you can't support and it makes sense. Not everyone can afford it, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hit the like button, or rate us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Everyone still calls it iTunes, even though it's not actually been technically called iTunes for ages. But everyone's just in the habit of calling it that.
It's been like a year, but my podcast app still searches the iTunes directory to find new podcasts because they're just like, we're not renaming it, we're not recoding this shit.
I mean, I hate Apple, but it's almost funny that their marketing on their previous name was so good, and it was such a strong brand that everyone like knew and recognized, that changing their name is so difficult, to the point where like, why are you idiots trying to change it? We associate iTunes with.
The one thing I have consistently given Apple praise for is their marketing. It's the one thing that they are phenomenal at.
So yeah, moving on to shows in development. The Wonder Years reboot is in the works. A reboot with a black family is in the works from ABC, coming from Saladin K. Patterson, Lee Daniels, and Fred Savage. Fred Savage, of course, starred in the original show. And this is the show that most people know the cover of Get By With a Little Help From My Friends. I don't know if that's the full... I mean, that'll be the title.
Another one you're on about, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know the full title.
But yeah, this is where most people know that song from. I never watched this as a kid, though, so I don't know it from that. I just know the song on its own.
Yeah, me too. I've seen the odd episode here or there, but...
So, whenever anyone catches me, like, sort of humming it to myself, they go, oh, you must have watched Wonder Years, and I'm like, no, I've never seen an episode. I've never seen a single episode of that show. I always get a very sort of dreamlike, because it's all told in flashback. There's a narrator, because Fred Savage, as an adult, is saying, not him himself, but he's playing the kid, but the adult version of his character is narrating and talking about his childhood life. That's my understanding of the concept of the show, and it's like back in the 50s or 60s it's set in. Yeah, and it was made in the 80s, so even then it was a nostalgic thing. So which does make me wonder. Let me see if it tells us when it's going to be set, because I wonder if they'd say, oh, it'll be set in the 90s or the 80s this time, because it's now we're in the era we're in.
Probably the 80s, because they'll still want to cash in on that right now.
Oh no, it says late 60s, same time period as the original series. So
I'm surprised, actually, given the rampant 80s nostalgia that has infected so much media over the last 5-6 years.
No, it's interesting. I think especially with the black family in that time period, there's maybe a lot of opportunity to show maybe a more serious side, tackle some topics that the original show probably never would have even dreamed of tackling, but maybe still with this idea of like, whoever the lead character is, the narration from that character kind of also still being one of nostalgia because of all the good times with their family. There could be a nice mix of
do you do it as like they're just a significantly older person, it's still set present day, so to speak, for the narration?
Oh yeah, I don't know if it matters, because I don't know if the original show ever even necessarily implied it was present day. It's just that it's later, and because you never saw him, I don't think. It was just the voice.
Yeah.
So he could have been any age. He could have,
True.
So maybe it doesn't matter, like we can all assume it's present day because we just naturally go there first. But, so we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, that's an interesting idea. And yeah, so that's the Wonder Years. Coming from ABC. Also, ABC is a comedy. So this is them developing next year's stuff. It's worth it. I didn't put this in the news, by the way, but there was like multiple stories from ABC, I think, NBC, Bait and Fox, all committing, let's say, we're still going to shoot like the 7 pilots we said we ordered. We're still going to shoot all those at some point this year. They've just not been done at the usual time for obvious reasons. So they're committing. So presumably for mid-season, they're going to shoot a bunch of things later on in the year. And see if they can.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see some season 1s that are only like maybe 8 episodes long because of when they get to start shooting and like the kind of requirements.
Yeah, we might do. It's going to be, because I know I think we spoke about this last time, but CW are starting later. They're not starting their season until January.
Yeah,
and obviously they usually start late October instead of September when everyone else does. They're always a little bit later. But this is significant. I don't know if anyone else has kind of taken that leap yet. So yeah, this other comedy from ABC is Untitled right now. It's coming though from Aaron Kaplan's Capital Entertainment. Yes, you guessed it. So it's a family comedy with a unique twist. Is it really?
It's about 2 parents, Ted and Mandy, trying to navigate parenthood in LA raising a non-binary, gender-fluid child. I mean, that's the unique twist, I guess. It's the kid. Okay.
Sure.
Fair. It's hard to gauge some of these pitches where, okay, you're bringing in a character or a topic or something that should be addressed more on TV, that should educate people on TV, but you're not really giving me anything else to actually want to watch it in terms of like the quality or in terms of like maybe the tone that it's going to have or anything, which admittedly is hard. I don't necessarily envy the job of trying to sell this to me, but again, these news articles aren't really for selling the show to the public anyway. We look at them because we're interested. It's not about this is not promotion.
That's what the trailers are for when that finally happens.
So, but fair play. I mean, ABC are doing some interesting things. They're exploring some stuff.
ABC had oh god, what was that comedy a couple of years ago with the kid in the wheelchair?
Oh, it wasn't Speechless, was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Speechless. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was ABC, right?
That was ABC, yeah. So I mean, they've got a history of maybe trying, different types of show with different types of characters representing different groups. So,
and that was really good.
I've still only seen the pilot, but I agree the pilot was really good. I'll be a good binge because I got like 3 seasons, right?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it a binge at some point when I'm in the mood. So Apple next, they're giving a series order for an 8-episode show from Phil Lord and Chris Miller. It's called After Party, single camera comedy. So it's already casting its lead. Miller himself is going to serve as showrunner, so not both of them interesting. So they're both producing it, but only one serving as showrunner. It's described as a murder mystery set at a high school reunion after party. Each of the 8 episodes will feature a retelling of the same night told through a different character's perspective, each with its own unique visual format and film genre to match the teller's personality. Okay, all right.
That sounds kind of fun. And now I'm a little bit annoyed. Okay, we weren't super thorough with all the news, and we were going through you beforehand. Were there any trailers and stuff? Apple had their annual conference thing that they do, announcing the new phones and whatever, and they showed a trailer for something, and I remember thinking, oh, that was something interesting. I'll have to watch that when we do the TV news, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was.
So you just brought it up to
no, but people out there will know because it was all over my Facebook and Twitter. So people who are watching this will be like, it's that trailer. It was a thing. Oh, Foundation. It was Foundation. I'm sure it was.
There's a Foundation trailer you didn't tell me. God, you're the worst.
Because I didn't watch it either, and I'm only just remembering now when you're bringing up Apple. It's still like the show's not coming till 2021, so it's fine. We'll get a proper trailer down the line.
Yeah. So no, I mean. The idea of a whole Rashomon thing in a comedy setting like this sounds kind of fun.
I do like Lord and Miller, and even if it's just one of them show running, I assume it will still have their sensibility to it.
Yeah, I think the added touch of like the different sort of film style and genre for each person's story or version of the story, I think it's a really cool idea. So I could see this being kind of, if there's going to be more of it, then I could see it being like anthology where the second season's a completely different mystery with different characters. That said, though, I could also see there been a lot of fun of like somehow bringing some of the same zany characters back to they've ended up in another murder mystery, or maybe it's something different. They can something they can apply the same format to. That's not a murder.
No, that does sound like a fun idea for a show.
Yeah,
and I hate that it's on Apple.
Yeah. One day Apple will make something we really, really care about. HBO Max has won an auction. And committed to a put pilot on Chinos, an original animated series idea from Fresh Off the Boat's Eddie Hong. So this concept is an exploration of the subculture of Los Angeles through the Asian American experience while flipping the model minority notion on its head. Do you have any idea what model minority means?
No, I was about to ask you.
I don't know.
Model.
I have no idea what that means. Here's the full description of it. Chinos is a show that will shatter the model minority myth. Yes, that myth. Yes. Connor's looking up. And hopefully usher in a generation of Asian American storytellers that do not feel beholden to the expectations of others, which is what Hong told Deadline. The project.
Would you like me to read the?
Let me finish the paragraph, and then you can jump in here. It's a project that seeks to shine a light on our singularity as individuals and the shared problems that bring us together as a community. I'm going to make a guess here and say that the model minority is the idea of like all the stereotypes that you expect people to be the same.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to read the definition here.
Okay, give me the definition.
So it's a technical definition. So a model minority is a minority demographic whose members are perceived to achieve a higher degree of socioeconomic success than the population average, thus serving as a reference group to outgroups. So it's specifically looking at a minority that is like, they do really well. So, those stereotypes you're talking about, but like the good ones, I guess.
Well, I mean,
not good as stereotypes, but good qualities.
Yes, good is the right word.
Yes, perceived as good qualities, not that it's a good stereotype to have. One that you see used in comedy all the time is like the Asian kids being really good at maths.
Sure, yeah, those kinds
like
of
that, where it's
okay.
a good quality in terms of it's not looking down on them, but it's used in that way. So I think that's what it's on about there.
Yeah, well, it's still very negative because typically it's used. I mean, it would be negative anyway, but typically it's used in the context of like a weird kind of jealousy or
yes.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, fair enough. I'd never heard that term before. So
no, me either.
Curious, but
we actually learned something today apparently.
So that's an animated show, just to point out, and there is actually an image here of like what the character's going to look like. So
it's a sense of some style for the animation, I guess.
Yeah. So that's Chinos is what it's called. So cool. So that'll take us on to HBO Max again. They're developing a dystopian thriller called In Memoriam. In Memoriam. Sometimes it's one of those words where sometimes I put in an extra syllable.
I was like, there was a moment there I was like, is that extra syllable supposed to be there, or is that just you?
In Memoriam. And I'll be honest, I think the word in before it is especially messing me up because it's an extra sound that's similar.
Yes.
And the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is coming from HBO Max, and it's actually coming from a director who worked on Mr. Robot. Niels Arden Oplev is working on the show. So while obviously I think a lot of the style of Mr. Robot came from Sam Esmail, this was someone who was there and was also doing that style in conjunction with Esmail. So
at least early on, before Esmail started doing everything himself.
Yeah, because he directed all season 3 and 4 himself, didn't he? So
and 2, I think. So I think it might just be season 1 that there was guest directors.
I wonder if Oplev actually maybe helped establish some of the style that informed later direction from Esmail. So, I'm trying to talk myself into being more excited based on his name. That's basically what I'm doing. So this is coming from obviously him, but also British playwright Charlie Miles. And this is, where's the description here? The story is set in the near future. Whilst humanity was busy uploading photos to the cloud and digitizing every book ever written, the human brain was quietly evolving, and we lost the capacity to store long-term memory. But Britain's National Health Service developed a cure, a government-issued memory chip. That sounds terrifying.
I think that's the least believable bit in the current climate is our health service having the funding to do anything like this.
I don't know. I believe this in a nefarious way, because I've not read the rest of it yet, but my assumption here is that there's some nefarious like spyware or something going on. Which admittedly is more of, I think of that as more of a shady American thing than I do a British thing, but whatever. We could have shady health industry too. I don't want one, but we can.
Give it 5 years and you'll have one whether you like it or not.
When 17-year-old Somalia finds out her mum is dead on the living room floor, she makes an unprecedented and criminal decision to implant her mother's memory chip. Somalia's search for identity sends her spiraling into an underground world of digital militance and authoritarian dispute until she finds herself at the heart of conspiracy, one that will unite her mother's past and the dark origins of this scientific breakthrough. So it sounds like she kind of, takes her mother's memories.
Do you know what I'm getting? Maybe this is because I watched it fairly recently, but you know that episode of Watchmen?
Sure, yeah, with the nostalgia drug. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting that sort of vibe in terms of having the clashing memories.
But more of a serious premise rather than just being a one-episode thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm intrigued. This is kind of a unique little idea that I don't know if it's going to be good necessarily, but I'm certainly down for HBO Max throwing these different like original ideas at me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what HBO Max's content looks like long term. Because kind of, Netflix, I have an idea of what to expect from most Netflix shows. Don't get me wrong, there are outliers, but I have an idea of what to expect. HBO Max right now, it's kind of all over the place in what they're announcing.
Yeah, I wonder.
We've seen so little of anything.
Because the only original they've got that's out with the service is that the Kendrick one, right?
Yes.
Which obviously is not necessarily the type of show that we'd look at typically for review purposes or anything like that. And I do wonder if, like, I just wonder when we get to shows like this, are they going to feel like they equally belong on HBO and it just happens to be a HBO Max show? Or is there going to be like more of a DC Universe level of budget where we're going to say, okay, this is clearly a different service. There's going to be a distinguished, feeling between the two.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But so that is in memoriam. So and I thought about it at that time just to make sure I didn't mess it up.
That'll make sense too.
It does. Yeah. Once you read what it's about. Next up, I actually got these slightly out of order. Clearly that one was meant to be further ahead, or further back. Lucy Liu is going to star in an ABC workplace comedy pilot. So it's known as Bossy, and Lucy Liu is going to star in it. From Better With You creator Shanna Goldberg Meehan. So, yeah, this comes revealed the pilot. It was one of 5 that it intends to film from its current batch of pilot orders. So this is one of the ones that are saying, no, we're definitely doing this. Lucy Liu is going to play Devon, the fierce and powerful head of Shelter, a large, successful modern furniture company. I was thinking it was going to be like a charity or something, like a homeless charity, basically. But no, it's furniture. All right, it still makes sense. It's just not what I thought of first. She is a force and is unfamiliar with failure. But when Devon adopts a baby, she is ill prepared for the task of parenting and feels at a complete loss as how to be a mum.
I like Lucy Liu well enough.
Sure.
I need to see kind of tone of the show, how it actually is comedy, but because I'm not familiar with the writers, showrunners, so I mean, it's got something going for it at least.
Okay. No. All right. So back out of the dramas. HBO. I've got a limited series in the works, and more importantly, it's a 6-part limited series. It's called Unruly, and they have cast Mahershala Ali to play the lead role. So it's a 6-episode, so it's one of these things where I feel it's going to be this prestige little short run show. It's about a boxing legend named of Jack Johnson, who's going to play. Tom Hanks is amongst the producers. So there's another bit there. So yeah. So and Ali, this is an interesting part, is he stated multiple times over his career that Johnson playing him would be a dream role. So this is something that he cares deeply about. Is portraying this character.
He is a phenomenal actor.
Oh, he is. He's a fantastic actor.
Whether or not I will care about the story being told is a different question. Well, that remains to be seen. But I have no doubt of his acting prowess whatsoever.
Yeah. Unruly is described as an unapologetically black, no-holds-barred telling of Jack Johnson, the world's first black heavyweight boxing champion. This bold exploration depicts the champion's rise to athletic greatness and the costs he paid for his skin and defiance, which created a blueprint for black resistance in every justice movement for generations to come. It doesn't mention the year that he became a champion, but that's like an interesting story. This is one of these things where, not knowing really much about sports, I don't really know.
This is not our forte, is it?
No, I don't really know these stories in general, but it does sound like a story worth telling. This appeals to, there's plenty of sports movies that I like. Like, I don't have a problem with sports and movies, bizarrely.
I'm really hit or miss still. Like there are some that I think are great, and others that I'm just like, the great ones are the exceptions. So for me, I'm still kind of skeptical.
Honestly, I think it's kind of a silly thing to say in this case that you may not care because it's a boxing story, because I feel like the boxing really isn't the point of this one.
When I said that, I didn't necessarily mean because it was the boxing, just in terms of the style, the drama, the story itself. I know so little about this story that maybe when it comes to it and I watch it, it doesn't appeal to me because of various reasons.
Because I feel like the actual, the boxing will be there, and that's clearly what the goal is and what he's working towards. But it's going to be the human, drama behind it that's going to be the driving. It'll be a lot
about society and his place in society, making this point as okay, if he's the first black champion, it's okay, all these
because
socioeconomic bridges there.
Because I've seen movies about, like, maybe not the first black person in a certain role, but certainly something like Hidden Figures or something, like where you see all the hurdles that are presented in front of these people as they're trying to be successful in their field. And it's interesting whenever there's a story like this where I'm like, okay, I have no idea how a black boxer was treated in that field, in that industry. I mean, industry is maybe not the right word, but I'm really fascinated to see kind of where. I assume it's not good. I assume a lot of it is bad, and I assume that there's maybe going to be a triumphant feeling ultimately of him proving himself and all the adversity he probably faces. So I can see it being quite an uplifting story. I assume, not knowing anything about this person or the history, but
I'll just see if I can find out when he was the champion. First African American heavyweight boxing champion, 1908 to 1915.
Oh, so yeah, we're early here.
I honestly just didn't know it was that. I assumed it was going to be a little bit later than that.
I'll be honest. You could have told me any time right up until
like the 70s.
Yeah, and I'd have believed you probably, because I really have no idea about about this history of the boxing. So, but yeah, okay, that sounds cool. So, Unruly is the title of that. I'm intrigued by this one. This is one of these ones where this is kind of like one of these ones that sort of flew under the radar, and I sort of caught it and went, "Oh, that's really interesting because it's a HBO show because it's Mahershala Ali." Like,
that immediately puts it on your radar, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, next up. Despite the fact that I'm pretty sure there was a World of Worlds miniseries like last year that everyone said was terrible, so we never watched it.
There was 2.
Well, there's another one coming up, so look forward to this.
It clearly recently entered the public domain.
I mean, that's probably true. Interestingly, where pandemics are on our side, World of Worlds is... if you've not seen it, or you've not read it, or seen any of the versions, or whatever you don't know what I'm mentioning there, but... So, set in a dystopian reality in which an unstoppable force turns London streets into a deserted wilderness, it's perhaps fitting for our times that World of Worlds will be the first UK television drama series to get cameras rolling in the pandemic era. So yes, this is the first thing that's going to be shooting apparently in British TV soon. So a contemporary reimagining of H.G. Wells' classic story returning for an
damn it.
8-part.
So already contemporary. God, I just want one bloody adaptation that does the original time. Is that so much? Every single one has changed the time period.
Yeah, honestly, I even should have had this in the news. This is actually a second season to that one from last year.
I hate you so much.
It got a second season. That says
I was
the
going to say,
bad one.
when you said it was shooting in the UK, I was like, wait, another British one's doing it?
Well, that's what I thought, but it said it made it sound like
Shambles.
It made it sound like it was another new one, but it's a second season. I assume, yeah, okay, I guess humans didn't win at the end then. Spoiled the end of season 1, apparently.
I just want one adaptation.
When's the book set?
It's like 1840s.
Is that when it was written, or is it like
no?
Later?
I think it was written a little bit later.
Okay, just curious.
Or earlier. I don't know. It was not exactly right, but it was close.
All right. Next up, an all-limited series at HBO. This one's just kind of funny. Not the story itself, but it's funny in relation to us. So they're doing a mini-series adaptation of Scenes from a Marriage of the Ingmar Bergman movie, which
was originally a mini-series.
Yes, it was sort of edited into a movie, but that was done kind of in its own time. It was done, quite quickly, I think.
It was, yes, but it was shot and created as a mini-series and then reformatted into a movie.
Yeah, so, but here's the interesting thing. It's going to star Michelle Williams and Oscar Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like those people. The real question
names.
is it going to be better than Marriage Story?
I still haven't seen Marriage Story, so I cannot comment on that.
Did you ever finish watching Scenes from a Marriage?
Well, not until we've rescheduled the review now. I have to wait long enough now until you're not mad about rewatching it.
It's 3+ hours.
It's been too long now. You can't talk about that without watching it again.
I'll talk about Marriage Story. You talk about Scenes from a Marriage.
And this is actually kind of interesting. It's coming from I'm probably going to butcher pronunciation of this, but Haggai Levi, who co-created The Affair. That's not the interesting part for me. The interesting part is that he also worked on Our Boys, which was the show that me and Tara covered last year from HBO, which was the original about the kidnapped the kidnapped boy. Basically, I was looking for the right word there. But no, really interesting. I think the kidnapped Muslim specifically. A couple of basically 3 sort of radical Jewish. Well, 2 of them were kids. One was a bit older, but it was a true story, and it was a really good mini series telling the story of it. Really solid stuff. And it was kind of an interesting world into it was in Israel, obviously, and it was this kind of world that I've never really kind of explored or whatever. And I learned so much about that place from that show. So that's the interesting part, I think, here for me is that.
I mean, I didn't watch it, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, so written and directed by Levi, the series adaptation re-examines the show's iconic depiction of love, hatred, desire, monogamy, marriage, and divorce through the lens of a contemporary American couple played by Isaac and Williams. Yeah, I feel like that was just a lot of jazzing up of essentially just it's about a married couple.
pretty much.
You don't have to list all those things. We assume all those are involved, basically. Yeah. So that is scenes from a marriage. So there we go. Next up, supernatural drama Tether is in the works from Kevin Hamadani, Travis Betts, and Dial Day Kim, and this is coming from Amazon. So another Amazon show. Written by Hidami and Betts, the genre-bending Tether follows the terrifying journey of Madeline Woods, a woman driven to find her kidnapped husband and son and extract revenge on those who hurt them and murdered her. Now a ghost and tethered to the house she died in, Madeline must find a way to escape her supernatural prison and save the one she loves.
You could tell me that was a Fox show and I'd believe you.
I'm not against it necessarily. It could be something.
It could be okay. It's fine an uphill battle. I'll be honest. Yeah. It's not come out like making me gotta see this.
I mean, it's not a buddy cop thing though. To dispel your Fox thing, she's not with a cop. She's just on her own as a ghost.
No, I know. It was just the way it was written.
Sure.
That she happens to be a ghost. Like, it felt like a Fox description.
Yeah. Interesting that the father and son are still alive. I wonder if they need something from the father, so they're keeping the son alive as collateral, and the wife was murdered to prove how serious they are before they left. That's my guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
So yes, that is Tether. What title makes sense, admittedly. Having read the description. Next up, The Jungle Prince of Delhi is based on the New York Times expose about the fake royal family of Oud. Is in development at Amazon again. So that's Amazon with another show. They got the exclusive rights to the story, which was also profiled on the podcast The Daily, and was a 2020 Pulitzer Prize finalist. Not winner, but finalist.
But I mean, just being nominated is prestigious.
Well, it depends on what award you get nominated for.
I mean, a Pulitzer Prize is, at that point, nomination means something regardless.
Oh, I agree, but I mean, it could be an MTV Movie Award, which is clearly not prestigious.
Yeah, but clearly I was talking about in context of the nomination itself in this specific case is prestigious. Not just every nomination for everything.
Shut up.
I'll nominate you for Shithead of the Week, and I'll tell you it's prestigious.
That's prestigious. Excuse me, I'm always the Shithead of the Week at MailFuzz TV. Thank you very much. I claim that throne gladly. So Mira Nair, who directed a 6-part BBC drama recently called A Suitable Boy, is attached to direct and executive produce. The series tells the story of the eccentric royal family of Oud. That's Oudh, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, just to tell you how it's pronounced.
Could be Oud.
Oud. What's that? Hold on. There's something with like an alien race called the Oud.
It's Doctor Who. They're the things with the orb to talk. That's
what I'm thinking of. Yes. The royal family of Oud, I guess. So deposed aristocrats. Living. Do you know the thing? Some words, like, I always have to think for a second which one of 2 words it is.
If it's going to be aristocracy.
Yes,
or
that's it. Because I almost went to aristocracy. No, it's not that. It's aristocrats. Right. The supposed aristocrats. Yeah. That thing. Living in a ruined palace in the Indian capital, claiming to be the heirs to a fallen kingdom. Written by Ellen Barry. It turns out that Prince Cyrus, who claimed to be a member of the Muslim kingdom captured by the British East India Company in the 19th century, was in fact Mickey Butt, the son of the registrar of the Lucknow University. I love that his name's Mickey Butt. That just makes it even better. The fact that he's faking being this, heir to this throne, essentially.
It's that's the British for you.
So, I mean, it sounds like I don't know if they're going to take this with a sort of comic touch, but it sounds like a potentially really funny kind of wacky true story. If they're going down that path. So that's Amazon that's developing that. So cool. Next up, Showtime's developing a series about Lena Horne, with her granddaughter Jenny Lee May, and Alex Kurtzman working on it, which is a bit of a red flag, to be honest. Alex Kurtzman is not typically associated to things that are good. So so Showtime's working on this. It will explore so Lena Horne, because I don't know who this was, is an entertainer and activist, and it's going to be a limited series at Showtime. It will explore her relationships with Paul Robeson, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Joe Lewis, Billie Holiday, Hattie McDaniel, Ava Gardner, and Orson Welles, and look at how she navigated stardom during Jim Crow as a direct descendant of slaves and their enslavers. So, yeah, it's a prominent figure clearly from the early part of the last century, which I clearly know nothing about. So,
yeah, Jim Crow era places it in a roughly similar time period to the one we were talking about before.
Lovecraft Country?
No, the Mahershala Ali one.
Oh, okay.
Kind of in that sort of ballpark.
I went to that one because they always say Jim Crow era in descriptions for Lovecraft Country. But
They do, yes.
Which is probably why this is a good idea, because this is something that I should probably know more about. So, feel free.
What better way to learn than through dramatized TV?
It's usually my preferred way to learn the basics of something. It's because there was a great tweet a couple of weeks ago, which I thought was really poignant. I don't know who the actress was actually, which kind of hurts this a little bit in terms of the comparison. But there's an entertainer who's still alive, right? Who's maybe in her 70s or whatever. And the point it was making though is that this woman who's still alive was born in the same year as Martin Luther King Jr. and Anne Frank. And we think of those, the events that we tie to those two people in history as being really far back, especially Anne Frank. That was ages ago, World War II, blah, blah, that was, a long time ago. Well, not really. There's people still alive who were born the same year as her. It was kind of the point that the tweet was making. And I thought that. And it's I should know more about some of these things from these eras. I mean, I know about those two, obviously.
I mean, I was going to say, it's got to be older than 70s, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, 80s, whatever. I mean, but the point is, this woman's still alive. She's still working. She's still on screens occasionally. I can't remember who it was. Some old person I don't know, but...
Clearly.
Yeah, clearly. But yeah. I mean, I don't know if I like this. I mean, the fact that Alex Kurtzman's involved means I probably won't like it. I probably won't want to watch it, but
we'll see.
I am all for it. It's happening. There's breaking news here.
What? Really?
Breaking news. Stephen King novella If It Bleeds draws movie deals. Oh, it's movie deals. Oh no, it's from Netflix, but it's a movie deal. Never mind.
Not breaking news after all.
Yeah. If It Bleeds, Stephen King book, maybe a movie. That's all you need to know. So
I'm shocked.
Yeah, well, it happens. All right, next up, we're back to HBO Max. It's a crime drama called Rip Crew. It's in the works.
Can I just say,
yeah,
your story placement is all over the goddamn
There was too
place.
many this week. Okay, I couldn't. See, once the tabs get small enough, I can't read what they are anymore. So
inexcusable.
So I just have to sort of hope for the best.
Remember when you used to copy and paste things into a Word document?
Yeah, but times have changed. We've moved on our world. See if I could color code the tabs on Chrome. That'd be nice. That'd be a really useful
bet
feature.
there's an extension that lets you do that.
There may be, actually. I may look into it. But yes, that really matters. Does it really matter if we're bouncing around networks?
Just
Fine.
some consistency.
So, yeah, Rip Crew, crime drama from Code Black creator, executive producer Michael Seitzman, or Seitzman maybe, and Mike Weiss. Remember Weiss, Rip Crew, in Rip Crew, when a disgraced ex-FBI agent turned criminology professor discovers that the most gifted students are planning a massive heist, he decides to scoop their score and become the criminal he used to chase.
Okay.
It's more of a focus. I think Rip Crew said crime drama. I think I just imagined like some sort of procedural thing. The fact that this is more about a serialized plot of this old guy being like, you know what, I'm going to like steal this stuff first.
Yeah, it could be all right. It doesn't immediately interest me, but I mean, it could be good.
I always say, would the premise of Breaking Bad interest you if we'd read about that before?
No, exactly. Yeah. Which is why I, kind of have that caveat there that it could be good.
That's my comeback. Every time you say something like that, I just like, oh, but you said the same with Breaking Bad, you probably would have. And Breaking Bad's one of the best things of all time. So here we are. Next up, Elizabeth Moss is set to star in a show, a limited series, which has been developed at UCP. That's Universal Cable Productions. So lately could end up at USA Network or probably USA Network. But
I mean, I'll wait and see and judge what this is before we.
Peacock's an option now. I mean, that's not.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Peacock is an option.
I completely forgot that existed.
So it's another true crime series. It's based on a true story. It's called Candy, although they said that's a working title. A limited event series based on the true story of Texas killer Candy Montgomery and her victim Betty Gore. Gore? I'm sorry. I feel like Betty Gore sounds like the villain in a slasher movie.
Maybe that's why she was killed. It's like competition.
I mean, it's a real victim. I don't want to crack too many jokes about the real person who was slaughtered by some crazy person, but yes. So it started executive produced by Handmaid's Tale star Elizabeth Moss. It's coming from the Act co-creator Nick Antosa, with writer Robin Veith, who worked on Mad Men and the Act as well. So Candy is set in 1980 Texas, where Candy Montgomery seemingly had it all: a loving husband with a good job, a daughter and a son, a nice house in the brand new suburbs. So why did she kill her friend from church with an axe? That's Joe. That's a good line. That's a good introduction to this, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It's just not too showy, but it's fancy enough to get me go, oh. So yeah, they've written a pilot script already, and they're going into this. So it's a limited series. Has to be. It's based on a true story. There's a beginning, middle, and an end. Moss is a good actress, and probably the biggest thing they've got going for it right now is her involvement.
Yeah, that kind of draws. It's like what we were saying with Mahershala Ali earlier. Like you put a name like that, it kind of just immediately grabs your interest. At the very least, it's got your foot in the door, and then it can show you why you should stay.
Yeah. So and I think this and the Ali boxing. I say Ali boxing sounds weird because it sounds like you're talking about Muhammad Ali, but those two are kind of the ones this week where it's like, no, the talent involved is why these look good at this point. So the final story of the week is NBC has ordered a sci-fi drama series called Debris, starring Jonathan Tucker and Ryan Steele. The first series order to a 2020 pilot. So here's the thing. So the project believed to be a 2020 broadcast drama pilot, with most of the footage in the can before Hollywood production went down. So, I mean, it's not only the pilot. It's not like they had half the series shot. They had
but it's a good start.
Yeah. So the producers were able to edit the material together, complementing the actual footage with additional visuals in the vein of the Blacklist complete season finale, where they did like an animated thing.
Oh dear.
I assume this was not for what we'll eventually see, though. This was probably more just internally to show, hey, this is how it works.
For the pitch, it's like, look, just bear with us on these other sections. Not really our fault, but there's enough here.
Yeah. So Debris is said to be in the vein of the X-Files and Men in Black. In it, two agents played by Steele and Tucker from two different continents and two different mindsets must work together to investigate when wreckage from a destroyed alien spacecraft has mysterious effects on humankind. I mean, it's been a long time since we have liked a new network show, but this is the sort of thing we would try. This could potentially be something we're into.
It is. I really hope they've got something to freshen it up, because they say, oh, like X-Files or Men in Black. I'm like, we did those decades ago. What have you got for me that's new in this?
Yes. That said, maybe something that's more notable here is that J.H. Wyman, or maybe just Wyman, probably J.H. Wyman, actually, now I think about it, who created Almost Human, is the one doing this. And Almost Human was a not bad show from what I saw of it.
I don't think I watched. That was the robot one, right?
Yeah, with with Carl Urban.
Yeah, I don't think I actually watched any of it.
It was alright from what I saw. So, some people really loved it. It got cancelled, very quickly. It didn't even get the full first season.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they even finished airing its full season.
I think it was on Fox, which is probably why. But
yeah, Fox gonna Fox.
Yeah. But that's maybe a little bit of talent that maybe suggests that it could be a solid network show. It's going to look and feel like a network show, but it might actually be an enjoyable network show. Here's hoping. Yeah. Why not? NBC, they've failed, but it does feel like every so often they do try to give us something that we'll care about.
That's true.
So, there's something. There's something. We'll see. So, there you go.
There's a lot of news.
That was a lot of news. That was a 90-minute episode. So there you go. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I will say, just glancing at anything that's because we've been recording so long that some stuff may have been posted. Run from HBO got cancelled after one season. Don't know what that is, but it's cancelled. A Glee actress went missing, is now presumed dead, and that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. I mean, obviously it's sad. It's sad that someone.
This was going on before we recorded.
It was going on, but there's they were looking for her beforehand, but.
No. This even way before we said that presumed dead.
Okay, well they've pushed the article up. Then it's near the top.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Can I make my point? Right.
Sure.
Right. So sometimes I need to stop for you to correct some stupid little detail for 5 minutes.
Can we just correct? It wouldn't be a problem.
Shut up. The point I was going to make is that show is so cursed. Like, the amount of actors from that show who have either turned out to be a paedophile, turned out to be, like, an abuser, turned out to be... I know at least one, I think, committed suicide, and now someone's, went missing and now presumed dead. Like, I feel like Melissa Benoist and Grant Gustin might be two of the only members of that cast at this point who...
I'd say Darren Criss as well.
I don't know who that is, but sure.
Well, I still see him around and stuff.
I'm being hyperbolic.
I hear his voice a lot.
There was a big cast. I'm being hyperbolic. There's probably tons of actors on the show who are perfectly fine people who have went on to do normal things. And obviously this person isn't necessarily bad. It's not her fault. Well, I don't know what details are, but it feels like for a show that I barely paid attention to, there's so many negative stories attached to certain. Sometimes it's because the actor themselves is a bad person. Sometimes it's because something's happened to them. But there's so many bad stories associated with people from that show in the last 2 or 3 years that it blows my mind. Yeah. But there you go, and they're all different things as well. They're all unrelated to each other. Is the big thing. It's not like one thing spread to the others where it was like, there was a ring of people all involved in something. No, all these separate things,
separate incidents. Yeah.
All right. With that said, here we are.
Yeah.
That's the end of the news. Thank you very much. Mentioned Patreon earlier. Go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Obviously, we're still working through Stargirl. We're still working through Doom Patrol. Still working through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And boy, oh boy, did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pull off a hell of an episode this week. So
we did all of Dark since the last episode of this, the final season.
Yeah, all Dark's there. So go check out all this, the reviews going out, all the stuff going up. But yeah, so that is us. Get us on Twitter at @mail_fuzz for channel updates. And of course, like and subscribe, comment, let us know what your thoughts on the news have been. Feel free to point out any small things we may have missed in the last few weeks, because it has been almost a month since we last recorded. So it's at a certain point I just stopped going back. So
I'm bored.
Yeah, but that was a long news show, and there was a lot of stuff there to talk about. So please do go and I'm gonna have a look. So that is us though. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?